works here. Ah. Most of you in your relationships want to have a loving and comfortable interaction, something that looks like this. Now, I know this never happens to any of you, but sometimes this happens to me, where it looks kind of more like this. In most relationships, at least my relationships, conflict is inevitable. And in fact, what happens is you want the other person to understand so much that you resort to the most natural thing in the world, which is to yell it louder. How's that working for you? Usually it leads to something that looks like this. Something a little different. It's enough to drive you crazy. After you hear my speech, you will know how to fight fairly. First thing to understand is that whenever we have a conflict, in our minds, emotionally, we kind of go back to the time when we were children and we were being scolded by a parent. And that usually, even though our exterior may seem very powerful and macho, inside, we're really acting like sad little children. And that's why. What we need to do is move into our hearts, move away from these emotionally painful things. And there are three elements to doing this. The first is to listen. Instead of react, hear what the other person has to say. The second is to validate. Don't just hear what they're saying, validate the fact that they have their right to their thoughts and to their feelings. And finally, perhaps most importantly, don't take it personally. These three elements are the key to learning to manage conflict in an effective manner, to fight fairly. So let's take a look at these. Listen. When you speak to your partner or to another person, does it seem like this? You're talking and talking, the other person going blah, 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 blah. Or do you get the sense that the other person is doing that? And so you lean in more and you try to get them to understand it. And that just makes them cringe and go away. And then, of course, you resort to yelling even louder. And we know how that works. So instead of that, lean into the other person. Listen to them. Hear what they're really saying. You don't have to agree. The first step is to listen. The second is to validate. Now, validating does not mean that you have to agree. Validating means that you are acknowledging their right to their thoughts and to their feelings. You don't have to have the same beliefs. You don't have to agree on the same things. You don't even have to see the world through the same religious beliefs to validate and acknowledge that connection between the two of you. So even if there's a conflict going on, you can see eye to eye and heart to heart and acknowledge that that person with whom you are having an immediate conflict right now is really someone who you care about and someone with whom you want a long-term relationship to be wonderful. And that doesn't change the fact that there may be a conflict going on right now. And finally, don't take it personally. That's perhaps the most important thing. Remember that the other person, if they're yelling or criticizing, are probably coming from a place of their pain. It's like they're a child who is upset because they're not being understood. Do you remember when you were a child and you were just really upset about something and nobody would listen? That's what's usually happening. And so don't take it personally. Understand that the one who's criticizing you is simply crying out in pain. So instead of withdrawing from each other, you can have a connection. Remember that when you point a finger at somebody, there are three fingers pointed back at you. And remember that inside that finger pointing is a sad little person. And inside the one whose finger is being pointed at Another sad little person. So you can engage in a dialogue even when there's a difference. So to summarize, listen, validate, and don't take it personally. Now, I know what you're thinking. No way! So I have engaged a volunteer who's going to criticize me.
You know, Arnie, this is really too much. I have been sitting here waiting for 45 minutes of all the days for you to make me do this.
I'm so sorry.
I had the worst morning possible. I spilled my tea all over my car. I had an argument with my daughter. I have a gazillion things. I just can't afford 45 minutes.
Okay, now how did that work? Where was I coming? I was coming from a small child, right? So, and how did that work? Did that feel good?
It did.
Okay. All right, now try it again. What if I adopted a different path? So come at me again. Same thing.
Arnie, this is my worst day imaginable in months.
Oh, well, you think you're having a bad day. What about my day? I'm having the worst day, too. All you ever think about is yourself.
This is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
Well, you never think about me. Do you have any idea what my day's been like?
I don't care. It was not as bad as mine.
Well, mine was worse. Sound familiar? Okay, let's try it one more time and see if I can apply what I've been telling you.
Arnie,
Give me more.
I have been waiting for 45 minutes, which of all the days, I mean, normally I could do this, but not today. I'm just completely stressed out. My mind's about to explode.
So you've had a really bad morning.
Really bad.
Oh, and this is the last straw. You didn't want to be kept waiting.
It is.
It didn't feel good to be kept waiting.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to be in such an awful
Don't
mood
be sorry,
today.
you matter. Come on, you're letting me off the hook.
I'm really upset.
So there's been a lot going on, and you want to be assured that...
You have no idea.
Oh, so I'd like to hear about it.
Well, I'm moving. I have 4 recommendation letters good out today. I have students taking makeup quizzes. I spilled a milky tea in my car that's going to stink up my car.
So you didn't have the time to do this waiting. You want to be assured that you'll be met.
I'm juggling 10 balls, and I'm dropping them left and right.
So there's just so much on your plate. This was too much.
Yes.
And you want to be assured that appointments will be kept on time.
Yes. And I would like an apology.
And I am sorry. Okay, thank you. So just one more. Oh, sorry. So again, just to summarize. Come on. Listen, validate, and don't take it personally. And you can turn that into this. Madam Vice President.